This is the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety's Disaster Discussions podcast, where we explore the intersection of weather and the built environment. Picture this. Your home is burned to the ground during a major wildfire event like the Los Angeles County fires. Months or even years after your life has been turned upside down, you finally have an architect, a structural engineer, permits and approvals, and maybe even a contractor. But there's just one problem. Your contractor doesn't have enough skilled labor to rebuild your house. That problem is much more common than you might think. According to new research by the Home Depot Foundation, nearly 60% of Americans lack high confidence in their community's ability to rebuild quickly after a disaster, and professional contractors who have worked on disaster recovery projects cite qualified help as one of their greatest needs to support this work. Welcome to Disaster Discussions. I'm Rachael Gauthier. And joining us on the podcast today to discuss this growing tension in disaster recovery, we have Courtney Jenkins and Sean Vissar, both manager of the National Programs and Strategic Partnerships at the Home Depot Foundation. Thanks so much for joining us on Disaster Discussions. We're really glad to have you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and so I'd love to hear a little bit about your backgrounds and more about the Home Depot Foundation before we get into today's discussion. Courtney, I'll let you go first.
Sure. Courtney Jenkins. Like you said, I'm one of the managers of National Programs and Partnerships here at the Home Depot Foundation. I have the privilege of leading our workforce development work. You may hear it called Path to Pro. And that's really our mission to get people into the skilled labor gap. So think plumbers, electricians, carpenters, HVAC specialists, all those really key and critical roles that help run our nation. And so I work with our nonprofit partners, providing programs across the nation that are free to help folks get the training they need for those programs and those jobs.
And I'm Sean Vissar, I'm Courtney's teammate, and I oversee our national programs for critical home repairs and disaster preparedness response and long-term recovery. And I've been working in this space for the past 2 decades. But both Courtney and I work, with the Home Depot Foundation. And our mission is to improve the lives of veterans through housing, to support communities that are impacted by natural disasters, and to train and introduce individuals to the skilled trades across the country.
Sounds like your mission and the IBHS mission have some crossover there. Ours is to reduce that avoidable suffering from severe weather and natural disasters. And Courtney, all those different roles that you named just a moment ago, electricians and plumbers and HVAC and carpenters, those are all jobs and roles that we have here at IBHS that are a critical part of our mission in building those homes you see that we put under the test and our test chamber. So I want to talk more about the survey, the research I mentioned in the beginning. The Home Depot Foundation partnered with Morning Consult. What was the primary goal in conducting the survey, Sean, and who are some of the people that you surveyed?
Yeah, we surveyed about 6,000 people, including the general consumers, contractors, organizations, and the goal behind it was to really gain an understanding of what the gaps are when it comes to skilled trades individuals in communities impacted by disasters. Are there enough to meet the need and meet the demand? And so through this survey, we took the findings and kind of took our programming, what we do at the Home Depot Foundation, looking at the survey results, and now we're trying to fill in the gaps and be strategic about how we can support these communities by introducing more individuals to the skilled trades and to continue our partnerships with local housing organizations that are also working in that space with support for long-term recovery.
That's awesome. And the results from the survey, really interesting. One of the key insights that you guys named was that 36%, so roughly 1/3 of adults, say their communities have been affected by a natural disaster in the last 5 years. We named wildfire in the beginning. We've had, a less active hurricane season last year, but the ones before that were active, severe convective storms, tornadoes, really all sorts of things. And of those rebuilding after a disaster, more than half believe the recovery process has taken longer than expected. 78% of those impacted by recent disasters noted challenges with long-term recovery and rebuilding efforts. And the findings are confirmed by the industry. More than half of professional contractors contractors or pros surveyed said there have been challenges with hiring that skilled labor. That number actually increases to 60% for those who have worked on disaster recovery projects. Some of those locations, again, LA impacted by the wildfires, Tampa was impacted by Hurricane Milton a couple of seasons ago, and North Carolina by Hurricane Helene. Can you share some specific stories kind of related to some of these recent events? Maybe one from the LA County wildfires, if there's one that comes to mind that highlights this challenge of rebuilding after a major event, especially at scale when, all the homes have burned down simultaneously and the area suddenly needs to rebuild 15,000 homes. We're not talking about one or two. These are entire communities that need to be rebuilt, and everyone's fighting for the resources at once.
Yeah, the scale of the LA wildfires was to a level we have never seen before when it came to just tens of thousands of homes that were completely destroyed and the displacement of individuals in temporary housing. And, the timeline for rebuilding after a fire is longer than a typical hurricane recovery because of the hazard mitigation and debris removal that need to go into the process before you can even start laying a foundation. So we took a step back to kind of take a look at what are the critical needs in these communities and where can the Home Depot Foundation fit in? And what we do best is we support repairing or building new homes for individuals that lost theirs after a disaster. What we've done is we're layering in multiple components of our programming to support local housing organizations that have a proven track record of repairing homes and building new homes. And one of those organizations is Habitat for Humanity of San Gabriel County, which works in Altadena and the surrounding areas. So in partnership with them, we took a look at, okay, what kind of homes are you repairing and what kind of homes you want to build new? And how can the Home Depot Foundation bring in cash support as well as specific supplies to help build these homes and repair these homes with home hardening practices involved? So we're taking a page from IBHS is what, we're layering in your plans for fortification and home hardening across the country, and then leveraging our inventory of supplies that we have that can be used specifically to help with reduction of future loss if there were a fire down the road. So we know that that these housing organizations have the capabilities of building. We just want to amp that up with IBHS's plans on how to build safely and efficiently so the homes that these individuals are going to be going back into are safer and also more affordable for insurance rates.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many different factors at play here. One of the things you mentioned, the supplies and the actual building materials, that's just one of many, many different things that are involved in the rebuilding process. As we're talking about today, the skilled labor to actually take those materials and get to building the houses is a big part of it as well. Courtney, you talked a little bit about it, but just define what we mean by skilled labor. What trades are we including when we say the construction industry or skilled labor?
For sure, because skilled labor can mean a lot of things, right? But when it comes to our Path to Pro program, we work with nonprofit partners that focus on some of those four kind of main areas that I talked about at first. So carpentry, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. And so these in-demand careers are essential, as you know, to helping communities build back after a natural disaster. But we're also critical to maintaining the current housing and infrastructure stock and replacing it with new builds. So very, very critical work. And it's going to take, some time to make sure that we keep that built up. But right now, currently today, there are approximately 300,000 open jobs across those kind of areas. And then that's set to increase to 4.1 million over the next 10 years. So I don't know how the last 10 years felt to you, but it goes by quickly. It'll be here before you know it. And so we are seeing a lot of the construction workforce is set to retire. And we know that for every 5 or so tradespeople that exits, only about 2 people go in to take their place. These stats are just demonstrating the need for the investment in these jobs and show that it's imperative to not only certify skilled tradespeople, but also help establish a pipeline of talent for years to come. Because like I said, that decade is going to go like that. And we'll be looking around and it's like, wait, who's going to do all these things that we need done for our nation? So very critical issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are really compelling statistics. Yeah, from 300,000 job openings to 4.1 million. And you're right. 10 years goes by in the blink of an eye when you need to train, a few 100,000 or even a few million skilled tradespeople. Really, really interesting statistics there. So I do want to talk more about your Path to Pro program. So to help strategically address that nationwide skilled labor gap, you guys have made $50 million in commitments going back to 2018 to now for your Path to Pro program. That's a little bit of a tongue twister there. Tell me about the history and a bit more about the mission and, why the Home Depot is putting such a huge amount of funding to filling these jobs and training professionals.
For sure. It can get you a little tongue-tied, for sure. But in 2018, the foundation launched what's called Path to Pro, as you know, with a $50 million commitment to train the next generation of skilled tradespeople, which we're super proud of and really excited about this work because there's so much to do in this space. Through some of our partnerships with organizations like Construction Ready in Georgia, Home Builders Institute, Boys and Girls Clubs of America, we support free training and certification programs for K through 12 students, separating military, underserved communities, and really anyone who's interested in a career in the construction trades. We also work with Folds of Honor and Skill Point Foundation to offer scholarships for those who may be pursuing trade schools. So really trying to hit it at all angles to remove those barriers for folks to get into the skilled trades.
Yeah, I love that you guys are targeting young people who may just be trying to explore different careers, figure out what they want to do. I've done some stories in my previous life as a news reporter with high schoolers who had actually construction and carpentry classes as part of their high school curriculum. So I think doing what you can to get these young people interested to find out if that might be a good career for them is fantastic. So any idea how many people you guys have introduced or trained so far?
For sure. So since 2018, when this commitment started, our programs have introduced nearly 600,000 people to the skilled trades. We've trained and certified more than 70,000 participants. Like I said, that's across youth, high school students, underserved communities, and separating U.S. military. And then in addition to that, our scholarship partners have awarded nearly 1,000 scholarships, and that includes more than 70 in Southern California last year to really ensure that the area has the labor needed to rebuild after those devastating wildfires. So we're very proud of the work we've done so far. But like I said, those numbers just show the continued work that needs to be done. But we're proud of what we've accomplished so far with our partners, for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you guys also have pre-apprenticeship programs to help, keep up with that demand for the critical infrastructure. Go a little bit more in depth into the pre-apprenticeship. Is this people who are have decided they want to pursue one of these careers?
Exactly. So Path to Pro works with, like I said, our national nonprofit partners like Home Builders Institute and Construction Ready to help train and certify aspiring pros. So again, that's all the way from kindergarten all the way to the end of high school. We offer after-school programs, post-secondary training, entrepreneurship classes, and even courses that are taught on or adjacent to 10 military installations around the country to help service members and their families who are transitioning into service life. Or to civilian life, sorry about that. But yeah, many of these programs utilize HBI's PACT curriculum, and that's pre-apprenticeship certificate training. And this prepares trainees for apprenticeship in their skilled area. So yes, if you decided you want to do carpentry or electrical or plumbing or HVAC, it'll really help you kind of take that next step. And so by working with youth and adult learners, we're addressing the skilled labor gap kind of at both ends, which, like I said, that 4.1 million in the next decade is going to be crucial. So we're trying to make sure that we are getting, like I said, get them when they're young and get them interested then. And then also maybe it's a second career. Maybe you're coming out of the military, or maybe you're just looking for your next thing that you know is foolproof to a degree. And you can come on in and get that training.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great career path, highly paid jobs. As you mentioned, plenty of openings. And when you see all these lists these days about jobs that are the safest from AI, the skilled trades are always on those lists, right? We can get AI to assist us with a lot of things, but AI is not going to be able to get out there with tools and build our homes and buildings for us. So yeah, great career stability there. You guys have invested a lot of money. You mentioned grant programs, scholarships. Tell me about some of these.
Yeah, for sure. So, following last year's kind of wildfires in Southern California specifically, we made a commitment of $3 million to help rebuild that area. And $1 million of those dollars went towards grants. So, programming, scholarships for students, pursuing the trades through post secondary education. So, really making sure that we're focusing on an area that we know is hit often. And then earlier this month, we also rolled out an education grants program for K through 12 schools, trade and community colleges, and then nonprofits that are all within the kind of the skilled trade space. And this is for all 50 states. And these grants will help schools and organizations upgrade and add tools and equipment and just all the things that they'll need to really make sure that their training spaces are what they need to be to train that next generation. So we're super excited for these new programs and the way that they're rolling out. We're already getting a lot of great traction from organizations that are doing some awesome things in this space. It takes all of us. So we're excited to support.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned nonprofits. Team Rubicon is one that you all work with to support workforce development for veterans and other volunteers. IBHS also has worked with Team Rubicon on some different projects as well. How will that partnership help you guys help that post-disaster housing crisis? How does that all play in together?
Yeah, for sure. Team Rubicon, I mean, they really just know what they're doing in this space. And so they are our longstanding disaster response partner, or one of them. And they focus on rebuilding communities impacted by natural disasters, as you said. And so one challenge they experienced while working to rebuild homes was finding trained professionals that were available to do the work. So in 2024, the foundation invested $1 million into their workforce development pilot, which provides students with on-job training in carpentry, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC, of course, so that we have more skilled laborers who can help rebuild after disaster. So it was really like the perfect storm, lack of a better term, of coming together, our partnership with them in a new way. And it's been cool. As you have read the survey, about 43% of pros who have worked on disaster-related projects cited skilled workers as one of the greatest needs to support their work. And 61% of these pros said their hiring needs had increased, as opposed to only 36% of those pros who haven't worked on disaster rebuilding projects. So the numbers don't lie. We're seeing it. And we're glad our work was able to kind of meet at that intersection to get something done.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked a lot about rebuilding, but one thing IBHS is big on is, rebuilding those homes more resiliently, and other actions, educating folks on how they can prepare their homes and business in advance. We want homes to be more resilient, so maybe they're less affected by the next event. So Sean, I want to ask, in addition to investing in the skilled trades, how else is the Home Depot Foundation working to help communities become more resilient to these disasters?
Yeah, absolutely. So we began developing our long-term recovery program in the past 3 years, where we'll go back to communities that were impacted by disasters within the past 5 years to a decade, and identify local housing organizations that need support with capacity building and grants to repair existing homes or to build new homes for individuals that have lost theirs or that theirs were damaged during a disaster. So our goal with this is to incorporate hazard mitigation building practices into those repairs by leveraging everything that IBHS does. So a couple of years ago, I started hearing about IBHS, and I was like, who are these folks? Like, what is this organization? I want to know more about it. And what I've learned is that you all have created some of the best standards we have across the country on how to build or repair homes, build new homes, to fortification or home hardening practices. And so after getting to know you all, I wanted to leverage what you've developed with these building plans and educate our nonprofit partners on how to incorporate these building practices into our long-term recovery partnership. So what we've done is we've partnered with FLASH, which is the Federal Alliance for Safe Homes. And they have developed 2 training modules based off of IBHS's fortification and home hardening plans, where we are going to train our long-term recovery nonprofit partners on how to build these practices, and so they can get certified and then bring this construction knowledge back to their communities and layer it into all the homes that they're working on. So our goal is to leverage all the incredible work that IBHS has done to train nonprofit construction managers working in these spaces so that we can support these standards across the country and then ultimately help these homeowners get a better insurance rate on their homes while living in a safer home.
Yeah, that's awesome. We certainly appreciate the help, and the partnership education we know is key. If nobody knows about the science, then it's really not doing anyone any good. So that's a big part of our own mission as well, is to educate folks in the science. And I know a lot of people listening to this podcast may be familiar with Fortified, but they may not realize, how the Home Depot Foundation really works hand in hand with what's happening with Fortified and some of those nonprofits. That's really awesome. Well, this survey has been really interesting. I've loved getting to hear about the Path to Pro program. What you guys are doing is awesome. I've had the chance to talk with our own construction manager. He has told me about the challenges of finding, skilled labor, skilled tradespeople. And so this is really interesting to hear what you guys are doing. Just kind of closing thoughts as we wrap up this discussion today. Anything else that you wanted to talk about or mention?
From my standpoint, I'm just really thankful for IBHS and the work that you've done, that you're willing to share the work that you've done. And it's just allowed us to kind of leverage and layer in all your expertise and knowledge and really help get the word out, like you were saying, and train nonprofit construction managers in this, because what we want to do is ensure that every house we're touching is safer and more affordable for the homeowner. And leveraging IBHS's expertise has been critical in making that.
Just agreeing with Sean, I think he said it best, but we're just super grateful for y'all helping us illuminate this important issue, and the work that we're doing is our part to try to combat that. So we appreciate y'all.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'd love to continue and expand this partnership. Maybe you guys can come down to the lab sometime and see some of our cool science in action. That would be great.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Sean, Courtney, thank you so much for joining us today of the Home Depot Foundation, Courtney Jenkins and Sean Vissar. This has been Disaster Discussions, the workforce behind the recovery, America's post-disaster skilled labor crisis. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for listening to the Disaster Discussions podcast. Join us next month for a new episode. For more on IBHS's ongoing research efforts, visit IBHS.org.